What is up, boys and girls, and everything in between? This is Bear With Us. I'm Matt. She's Leah. Leah, how are you, my dear?
I'm home. We're at home.
We are home.
That's how I am.
We're going to change things up. It's
This
a little,
is so weird.
I know I'm incredibly close to you. It's almost uncomfortable. We're taking things back to the future, so to speak. In the early days of Bear With Us, it was you and I and your computer camera and a single microphone, and here we are again. Circumstances, lack of time have all led us to this point, and we're gonna just do it from home.
We're doing it.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
We can do it, and then we can go do it. If you will.
Yeah, and I don't have a car ride home to interrupt and screw that up.
I have a glass of wine in hand. I have my sweats on. I just got out of the shower. My hair is wet. I have 2 pimples on my face. But hey, who the cares?
I counted 3, but who's counting?
You.
Wow.
You always point out my pimples. I hate that.
I feel like you less and less week after week. You might as well just start the show with an F-bomb. Hi, how are you, my dear? That's where you're at this point. You're like all of the sailors.
Well, you know.
Oh my God, that's not good.
You know what they say. Takes one to know one.
What?
We're so screwed because now like my guard is down even more because we're at home. So I feel like I'm not even really recording anything. So the things that are going to come out of my mouth are not going to be as good as the things that go in my mouth.
Wow.
That's where my head's at.
It's a whole new era for Bear With Us.
Now, welcome to Bear With Us After Dark.
Now, yeah. TVMA SSC.
I love when I can genuinely make you laugh. That's my favorite thing. Because most of the time you roll your eyes at me or like say I'm stupid. But when I see you actually laughing at something I say, that's like, put it in the win column.
I mean, you picked a solid reference. You pulled a nice deep Cinemax After Dark reference, which I spent the early part of my formative years glued to my television. So I understand and appreciate it.
And try to I would have to do it when my parents were not in the room. And I'd be like, if they would come in the room, I have to like hurry up and change channel.
Yeah,
you know?
Channel back was a great invention.
The last channel.
Did you ever have a television that if you tuned to the right channels, you could look through the
squiggles?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. Every once in a while, you could always hear the audio, but every once in a while, you'd be like, oh.
It would be like really blurry. Then for like 2 seconds, it'd be clear. And then it'd be really blurry. Oh.
Yeah. And it'd be like, oh my God, a boob. But also, my luck was also that usually when it did get unscrambled, it was in like the plot part.
Oh, that's
where it was like the guy getting out of his car and picking his pizza up out of the trunk and like slowly walking to the door. And I was like, oh, I hope it stays clear. I hope it stays clear. I hope it stays clear.
Well, they do that on purpose, I'm sure.
I don't know, man. Whoever scrambles those signals.
Like, I gotta see if she gets her pizza. So then you have to call and subscribe.
Right. I was like, is she a pineapple person or not? This is something I'm ashamed to ask you. At this point in our relationship, are you a pineapple on pizza person?
Yes, babe. I eat Hawaiian pizza. I make Hawaiian calzone.
I know. Well, so
I make those strombolis.
That was why I was pretty sure that you were into it, but I've never physically seen you eat one.
You've seen me eat, especially like back to Christmas Eve when I make these, you guys, I make these amazing strombolis and I make them for every holiday. And well, I say it like as if I did it all the time, but for the last 2 Christmases,
twice, which
I've done it.
It's a streak.
And for any family gathering or party, like Super Bowl and things like that, I make them. And I make an Italian one and then I make a Hawaiian one. And they're the best when you're hungover on Christmas Day after partying all night, because that's what we do in our household on Christmas Eve. And the Hawaiian one, to die for, honey.
Yeah, so I was pretty sure that you liked pineapple because of that particular dish, but I wasn't sure because I know it's a very divisive subject.
Yeah, are you a pineapple
person? I love a good Hawaiian
I don't understand why it's so controversial.
It's
like, to me, it's basically the same as having pepperoni or meatballs on your pizza. Do you like meatball pizza?
Sure.
I used to love Hamburg pizza is what we called it where I grew up. And then my cousins, like they were really young. And so then it turned into meatball pizza. And that's what it's called now, apparently.
It made me giggle, and this is might be the best unintentional segue of your entire career here and going forward. This might be the best, and I know you didn't do it on purpose, but I noticed you occasionally, maybe your dad or someone in your family in the Boston region, you guys call them Hamburgs.
Yeah.
Like y'all have cut the ER off the end of the sandwich.
Right.
The only other person I've known in my life prior to you and your family that referred to a hamburger as a Hamburg was my grandfather.
But we don't actually call him a Hamburg.
You've just said it.
A Hamburg pizza, which is basically just
right. I would call it a hamburger pizza.
But it's just meat, like Hamburg meat.
It's burger meat. Hamburger meat made by like the Duchess of Hamburg or the Duke of Hamburg. I'm serious. I think maybe I'm making it up, but I believe what I'm saying right now. But I'm taking everything in a totally different direction. You mentioned my grandfather. Not going to make this heavy. Had all weekend for that. Lost my grandfather this past weekend. Super unfortunate. It sucks. Anybody who's going to, grow up and live life, you lose those close to you. It doesn't make it suck any less. But I've had a chance to grieve. Got to be with family. We did the funeral thing all weekend, and I actually came away with it with a different appreciation, probably more of an appreciation for my grandfather. But I realized something that I had already known. My suspicions were confirmed, if you will, that my grandmother is the most gangster ass bitch that ever walked the planet Earth. And I'm going to tell you why. You know why I'm telling this story. So I went, my grandfather's basically what would turn out to be his last day. Went to visit him with my brother, had a nice little chat. Everything was in the hospital. Yeah. Everything was as great as could have been. Feeling optimistic leaving. And, my grandmother and my mom and I and my sister and brother are sitting in the waiting room in the hospital. And we started making jokes about my grandfather's affinity for whiskey, which I dare say is hereditary, maybe my strongest trait that I've inherited. But he loved the whiskey. And we were like, we got to get him out of this hospital, or at least sneak some whiskey into him. To which my grandmother rapidly replied, "Oh, no. 2 steps ahead of you." And when I say 2 steps, she means literally 2 steps, because the first step, my grandmother attempted to smuggle whiskey into the hospital in my grandfather's underwear that she had packed because she knew he would be there for a few days. Unfortunately, the nurse or the orderly tried to organize my grandfather's things, opened up his bag that my grandmother had packed. The whiskey was discovered. They were caught red-handed. So my grandmother, in her infinite wisdom, devised a plan B, step 2, if you will, where she provided a paper bag that contained a container of actual holy water that she brought into the hospital room. And obviously nobody's going to mess with my grandfather's holy water, except when my grandmother would go in to hang out with him and the nurse would leave, she would very stealthily reach into her purse and put the whiskey into the bag marked holy water and give it to my grandfather so that he could have his favorite thing in the world. And to me, that was like, holy cow, ride or die till the end. What a great woman. And then I do you one further. At the actual funeral yesterday, I was making a joke trying to console my grandmother, as you would. And I said, hey, think of the bright side. Pap's got all the whiskey he could want now. And she, always being a step ahead, smiled at me, took my hand and put it on his breast pocket of his suit, where she had provided a little micro airplane bottle of whiskey for a journey into the afterlife. And I was like, man, how cool is my grandmother?
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, that's a bad bitch, and then we got into this whole conversation, this rabbit hole of being like, well, that is that generation. My grandmothers were the same way. And it's just, you do whatever you got to do for your partner and you make it happen. If you're told no, they find another way to make it work. And, that's what women, I feel like back then, that's what they did. They provided for their partner. They did whatever, whatever it was going to take to make it work. They're like the glue of the family.
Right. And it's a weird thing. And I looking back, obviously you can speak to this better than I can, but we always talk, we don't always talk, but from time to time about like women's roles or our roles in our relationships. And obviously over the last 50 years or 62 years in my grandparents' case, the world's changed. You know what I mean? Women's rights have come a long way and they can do anything nowadays. But does it diminish how they came up? But because that was all they knew, or that was what they did, that was their role, that was just kind of accepted in the world. Like, do you look at that now in the position you're in as a successful independent woman who has carved your own path with or without a man? Do you look at that and go, oh, how does that sit with you?
I feel like that was always sort of not like instilled in us as kids, like my sister and I, but it was like that's what we saw the women in our family do. All of the women in our family, our parents, our grandparents, our aunts, like any woman in our family, they were the homemaker. Mm-hmm. They all worked. Like my grandmother was all worked, and my mom works. But it's just sort of like that's what you do. You take care of your husband, you take care of your partner, whatever it is that needs done, you take care of the kids, you take care of the partner, you work, you do it all. Whereas, back then, women might not have had the privileges that we do now, but it doesn't mean they didn't want them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But it also didn't make them any less important. If you look, you have to look at it in hindsight.
Right. Back then, I think that they were even more badass because they wanted to do all these things. They were fighting all of these gender stereotypes, but they were fighting all that and still taking care of everyone.
Right.
And taking care of themselves. So it's just like, I don't know, to see where, I don't know, like seeing your grandmother yesterday brings back memories of my grandmother, and talking even with my meme, who's fortunately still alive. And it's, she doesn't put anything over. She doesn't sweat anything. Everything is just, women back then just didn't want credit for anything. They never did anything for people to be like, oh, wow, I can't believe you did that.
That's not they didn't want credit. It was just, they just didn't expect it because
they did it because that was just what they did.
Yeah.
Whereas now I feel like everyone, oh, did you see what I did? I did this. Look how amazing I am. I'm not saying women do that, but just
I think everybody does that. Yeah, that's a societal thing. Yeah, that's not a gender role anymore.
But I think back then that's just what you did, and it didn't matter if people knew about it or not, and they were just willing to go the extra mile for their man, their family. And I think that women still do that. I'm not trying to take that away from what women do now, but it's just, I don't know, back then it was just so badass.
Yeah, but and again, everything's always sexier from the outside. Like you look at it now and go, well, if everything was so wonderful, then why would we need to change? That
we made the point yesterday. I said, looking at all of these photos they were showing at the funeral home and all of that, there were just photos of your grandparents all over each other, lovey-dovey and so happy. And, you look at how, what a hard time she was having yesterday. They were been together 62 years.
62 years.
That in of itself, let's give that a moment of silence. 62 years with the same person. And I just lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this?
We were just talking about all the pictures and all
So, are we making it into something it's not like, I'm sure they've had to have had issues. They had to have had problems.
Sure.
Were they like super happy all the 62 years? I'm sure not. But at the same time, we don't know, because you're saying from the outside in, it looks a certain way. But we don't know. Maybe there were so many times where she wanted to wring his neck and vice versa. But we don't know. Everything does always feel more exciting and prettier from the outside.
Sure. And you tend to romanticize, especially people that, are close to you and you love and are influenced positively by. But I wonder, just as society has changed, as what we want as people and what women are capable of now versus 50 years ago, there's all these different variables, but I'm trying to think of how to verbalize this. Everybody's capable, and there's all these different outside influences and social media and all these different things. Like, have we overcomplicated love and relationships as a society?
No, I just think nowadays people are able to compare everything more.
Right.
Like,
I don't mean intentionally. I'm wondering, because to your point, that was sort of what was expected of women at a time. And then it became, oh, well, women can work and also, but always kind of being the glue. That's always sort of been the role as I've known it. But now there's all these different hats you can wear. And it's like, well, does it take away from the ability to have a 62-year marriage now, because there's the world's just so different. Back then it was, I'm going to be a great homemaker and a great wife and make sure my man needs what he wants and
gets what he wants.
It gets what, you know what I'm saying? But that was something like to hang your hat on. Now,
well, also back then people didn't get divorced. They stuck it out. The divorce wasn't an option.
You name it. That's what I'm saying is we could sit here for an hour and just name different ways in which the world has changed. But have we as a society, and I guess we won't know this until 82 years from now, is anybody capable of being married for 62 years, being married in this day and age?
100%.
Do you think?
Of course people are.
Do you think there are people that you and I are friends with that know, like now, that are going to go 62 years?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm asking.
I mean, I'm not saying
I don't have a point
will.
here.
I think everyone will. I think it's just, you're divorced.
Sure. Exactly. But if you'd have told me 13 years ago, oh, you're going to be divorced, I'd just say, oh, you're crazy. I'm going to get married once and it's going to be forever.
Right.
But 62 years, that's unfathomable time in the year 2021. 62 years for anything. If I had a job for 62 years, I would be like, that's what?
Keep going.
No. I was waiting for you. I was like,
here's where I think things are great for people nowadays, because now we're at a point where we can recognize and realize that we deserve to be happy. Whereas for the longest time, it was, you just stick it out. It doesn't matter how miserable you are. You don't talk about it. You just throw it under the rug. You don't talk about your problems, your issues, your husband's cheating on you, whatever your issue is, you don't talk about it because it just has to look great from the outside, right? Oh, look at this perfect home we have, this perfect life we have. And that's what everyone did. And I'm sure that's what your grandparents did for a long time. My grandparents did it.
Absolutely.
I know both of our parents, I'm sure, have been through something like that.
Right.
So nowadays, the positive, I think, of all of it is we're able to admit that we deserve to be happy. Okay. We deserve happiness. And it's okay if you're miserable in your marriage. If you're really it's not like, oh, I hate how he chews with his mouth open, I'm going to divorce him. It's like if there's a reason why
that's a real thing that happened to Leah. She doesn't like to talk about it, but that was it was an annulment, less of a divorce. It was
no, but my point is we're able to now recognize I deserve happiness. So you know what? It sucks that I'm going to have to get divorced, but that's what it is. And I'm going to be happy. And I think that is where we're, at least as a society, able to be somewhat selfish, and it's okay. Whereas for the longest time it was like, no, you're being selfish, you have to put your family first. You can still put your family first, but you can't be the best for your family if you're not the best version of yourself. If you're miserable, if you're hating your life, you're not happy at work, you're not happy at home, then you're going to make everyone else around you miserable. But if you put yourself first and you're happy, then everyone else is going to be happy. And that is okay to put yourself first. I'm a big advocate of putting yourself first, because then everyone else will be happy.
I don't disagree with any of that.
But I think that's what society is nowadays. Like that's the one positive. Not that that's the one positive, but that is something that
is definitely a positive on a human being level. But like I'm saying, at one point it was almost expected that one of you, most likely generally was the wife, was going to be unhappy or out of your element. But seeing my grandmother this weekend made me kind of renewed my faith in that. Like, I know for a fact it made her so happy to do what made him happy or whatever he asked for or needed. So, it broke my heart on a different level, but it was just kind of, honestly, as sad as the weekend was, I came out of the weekend with like a few cool views and like appreciations for different things.
I'm going to turn the tables just a little bit. If I died, what would you put in my casket with me?
Oh my God.
Because obviously I would put whiskey in your pocket. I would make sure you had gummies. He likes like gummy bears.
Yeah,
he loves gummy bears, like obsessed. What is something that you would be like, oh, I know Leah would really, well, first of all, I already told you, when I die, especially if it's within the next 40 years, I need a spray tan. I need my nails done. I need my eyelash. I need full glam. I don't want just the regular glam they put on you, like the cover your like.
You don't want like funeral home.
Funeral home. I need like one of my girls to come in and give me full on glam, If my nails aren't done, I'm going to be so pissed.
I love that you've made this many plans as if there's any possibility on the planet Earth that you're going to outlive or that I'm going to outlive you.
I mean, you never know. You really never know.
I mean, that's true. I might be on that Keith Richards plan.
Well, considering how much whiskey your grandfather...
That's what I'm saying, man. He was doing it till the very last day. So fine, I got those good genetics. I got those rock and roll genes.
So I just need to make sure you know that I need all of this.
I'll make sure that...
Make sure my roots are on, or at least put a wig on me or something.
Oh,
you still don't know what you would make sure I had?
Well, no. So my big problem with that question is I know how much you need and love options.
Yes.
So I would feel the need to put 3 of anything. Oh, I should give her her favorite snack. Well, there's this, there's that, the other. Well, sometimes she likes these. Well, she loves pretzel chips, but sometimes she wants buffalo. Other times she's an everything girl. I don't know. Basically, you would not have room for yourself in the casket.
Well, at least bury me with a bottle of wine.
I mean, I can arrange
or
that.
Or Prosecco or something.
Fair enough. That's good enough.
I have something that I want to talk to you about. Something that happened this week.
What happened this week?
That's something that we've talked about before, but we never really got into it. So when we got into Tampa last week, we got a cab.
Okay.
We got into the cab, and because for whatever reason we couldn't get an Uber.
Yeah, they don't exist.
Yeah.
In Tampa anymore.
So we got in the cab and we each shut our doors, and as Matt does, he slams the cab door. He has a terrible, terrible habit of slamming doors. And the cab driver turns around, "Hey, man, hey, watch the door, huh?" And Matt was like, "Excuse me?" And he's like, "You're slamming my door." And Matt was like, "I don't know why I'm doing an Italian accent. He's not from New York. I don't know. This is Tampa, but this is what I imagined him to do." So Matt slams it, and Matt, I was like, "Oh, don't worry, sir. He does this to me all the time. I really try to yell at him. I'll make sure he does." Like, I'm trying to make light of it, because this guy was pissed that Matt slammed the door. But it's something you do all the time. It drives me nuts. But bringing this all back full circle, right? I'm gonna tell a little story. Growing up, slamming the car door was never a thing. I never thought anything of it. I guess I would slam the car doors. I don't know. But I dated this guy in high school who was obsessed with his little Ford truck he had. And if I shut the door too loud, he would freak the out. He's like, "Hey, stop slamming my door." And I'm like, "I'm not."
Like, "Oh, hey, stop slamming
my door." Why slamming my door? Bagul, manja. I don't know. So I'm like, I'm not slamming the door, but I didn't know that was a thing. I never grew up getting told shut the door gently. But ever since I was dating him, that's something that's been in my mind. So I always am, and I looked it up too. Like, okay, it's better for your car. It makes it last longer. Whatever. Takes better care of your hinges. I don't know. So
sounds
I
to me like you know. Sounds to me like you did some research.
Since I started hanging out with you, you slammed the damn car door so loudly. But am I right or am I wrong?
I tell you, I think you're right, but I'll tell you exactly why. Because I think the first 10 years that I was able to drive cars, I was never actually in a car that would close when you shut it normally. You have to lift it a little bit and you jimmy the door shut and you have to wrap something around it. Sure. So yeah, I'm sure it's probably, not recommended for properly made, nice new cars.
Right.
But that was, a bit unfamiliar. The car that I'm driving now is still the first new car I've ever purchased.
And that's
I've never had a nice car in my life.
Fine. So stop slamming the
No, I'm
take care of it.
It's my car. Now I can say that. It's my car.
Slam it and the door falls off.
I mean, have you seen the gash down the side of the
there's a whole bunch of dents in your car.
I'm not necessarily known for taking great care of my vehicle.
Yeah, trust me, I know. When you hit my hubcap on the curb of my beautiful Mercedes that I've taken spectacular care of, doesn't have one little dent, scratch, anything in it, and Matt pulls up on the curb, he's like, and from that I got a flat tire, by the way. That's where that came from. You.
I found the people that would come repair your tire in the parking garage.
Okay, but my point here is, going back to growing up and how you were raised, and this is such a stupid segue, but
it's not even a segue.
It is okay, because it's how I never grew up about knowing about car doors, but that was something my boyfriend's family was obsessed with. When I would go in their car, they'd be like, "Why are you slamming my door?" I'm like, "I didn't know this was a thing." They would yell at me.
Maybe I should have dated him.
Maybe you should have. But I'm just saying, I was never exposed to that. But like certain things, certain things only by how you were raised.
Right. And I never had anyone yell at me about my car door skills until now, 37 years of age.
Well, I'm glad I could help you out.
I mean, hey, it is what it is, right?
You're welcome.
You live and you learn.
Well, what other things? I'm trying to think, like you and I, this was actually part of the conversation yesterday when we left the funeral, talking about like
why you do what you do.
Yeah. I never grew up with my parents never had like friends growing. Not that they didn't have friends. They had friends. But the only people they hung out with were our family. My mom comes from a big Italian family. So it was always my aunts, uncles, cousins. That was it. We never went and like, oh, mom's friend, we're going to her house tonight for dinner. It was never like that. And my dad doesn't like anybody. So of course he doesn't have any friends. So we never did anything like that. It was always our family. Whereas you say, you grew up your parents always had parties, like they would go to their friend's house all the time or vice versa.
I mean, you don't think a social butterfly like myself just comes out of thin air, do you?
Oh, you're a social butterfly.
I mean, listen, yeah, no, but to your point, yeah, I thought it was kind of weird when you said all I ever hung out with, like you're also very close with your cousins and so I have kind of like one step removed in every direction, but that's it. That's where the end of the line is. But because I have a very small family that I was exposed to, raised with, but we always had friends over, and like if anything was happening, there was always someone else there. If the football game was on, my dad would invite his buddy or the neighbors.
So foreign
or we'd be sitting on the front porch on a random night, and one of the neighbors would come out and they'd come over and sit with us. Like it was just, you just always had people around, and you were talking and you just made stuff up and just got through. Like it was a whole bunch of bonding and quality time spent doing absolutely nothing of worth.
Yeah, I get that. But that to me is so foreign. And now like I've been doing like a lot of self-reflection lately and trying to figure out why I am the way I am, which is perfect. I mean, let's be real. But I never grew up doing things like that. It was always my aunt, my uncle, my grandparents, my cousin, this. Like my mom had a best friend, and my dad always makes a joke. He goes, I'm a lot like my dad. He doesn't like anyone. Same with me. I'm just kind of like keep to myself. Don't have a ton of friends. And he's like, I had one friend, my one best friend, and he died. So he's like, he goes, so I'm never getting a best friend again. And that was like one of my dad's best friend, like the one person he actually liked that he got along with well. And he died when I was maybe, I don't know, 10. And I'm pretty sure his name was Doug. Was it Doug? I can't remember. But anyway, it was my dad's one friend. So to me, I'm like, why am I the way I am? It's because I never grew up around that. I was never exposed to going to this person's house or that person. It was always my Aunt Michelle or my Uncle Nick or all my cousins, stuff like that. It was never, and that's why I don't have a lot of friends these days. Because my parents always told me, you can't trust anyone. You can't trust friends. You can only ever rely on your family. Those are the only people that you'll ever be able to actually count on. And that's why I am the way I am. That's why I get anxiety when we go to, but I'm getting better. Can you say I'm getting better? You better say I'm getting better.
At what?
Being like committing to plans when we make them.
Yeah, I will give you that.
Being more social. Like how many times I'm like, oh, we should have Aaron and Danielle over. We can go do this. We can bring Jonna. We can, I'm like I'm being a lot more social the last, I would say 7 or 8 months.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Since last summer, I've really gotten better. And I'm proud of myself. I'm giving myself a little.
Is that a seal impression? You balance a ball in your nose? Hey, at least you don't slam the car door. Hey, babe, what's in the mailbag?
Is it already time for the mailbag?
Yeah, we've been going for a while.
Here's the mail. Making me laugh so hard. Hold on. Okay, this never happens to me. I feel like a guy who can't get hard. Okay.
Papa.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my little When it comes, I want to wail. Mail.
Wow, I see what you did there. That was like, for a minute, I thought you were trying to get a spot with En Vogue, who's touring in 2021 in the summer, I'm sure.
I'm just trying to get a job on Broadway, okay?
Okay. What's in the mailbox?
Hello, Matt and Leah. Love the podcast still, even though Matt hates on Home Alone, a Christmas movie. I agree.
Boo.
I have a couple questions. First, I've been with my girlfriend for almost 3 years, and throughout that time, she really has been my rock. But then there's times where I feel like I should let her go so she can truly get the happiness she deserves. Is that normal? Second question. She also has kids. This is my second time dating someone that has children. Is it normal I don't really feel the same connection I did with the kids in my previous relationship?
Hang on. These are two heavy hitters. We got to compartmentalize.
Yes, let's do it.
Separate them. First question. Girlfriend, almost 3 years. She's been my rock. But sometimes they feel like I should let her go.
I just read these.
I know. I'm just reiterating for clarity purposes, baby.
Okay, well, I'm just saying. I think they got it. I think they got the questions. The first question. Here's my problem. Why does he think that she deserves happiness? Why does she think that he can't?
I don't know, Dr. Phil. Tell me.
That's what I'm wondering. I feel like you're selling yourself short. This guy that's writing this in, I feel like that sucks that he thinks that he can't give her the happiness she deserves. Like, I wonder if there's something, if there's like this hindering issue where he feels like he can't provide that for her, or if she's just not happy with him. Like, how do we know?
I'm going to just say they for the sake of the name is not masculine nor feminine in either capacity. So either way, but for the sake of discussion, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, if there's been times that it's been intimated to you that you're not good enough, or you are constantly not enough in any capacity, whether you're not a good enough listener or lover or driver, or if it's an issue to you where you feel that way, I think at least you owe it to yourself and her to have the conversation and say, hey, listen, when you do this to me, it makes me feel like, or I really don't know if you feel this way, but this hurts my feelings. This is a point where honesty is of the utmost importance. And it may be something that is completely unintentional, just general neglect. I think a lot of us are capable of not willfully destroying parts of our relationship, but neglecting them.
Yeah.
I think we would agree with that. Nobody ever goes, oh, well, I'm going to just not pay attention to this part and it'll be fine. But I think people they tend to do that in any relationship. So I feel like if it's something that you're feeling, it's definitely worth raising that question and asking her, hey, where do we stand on this? And if she tells you, no, you suck at this, that, and the other thing, then guess what? Maybe it's time where you go, all right, I should move on. Somebody else will make you happier. But just because she intimates that she likes something that somebody else does, doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing less than.
Yeah, I mean, and he, like, where this person is saying that their girlfriend is their rock.
Right.
So if they're your rock, then you should be their rock.
Talk about it straight up. That's the only solution to this can be found by having the talk, whether it be just a conversation and a misunderstanding, or, hey, yeah, it's really that bad. You need to go separate ways, but you have to talk about it.
And the second question about the kids, this person was in a relationship before where their partner had kids, and now this partner, their current partner, has kids and they don't feel as connected.
I'm deferring to you 100%.
But I think that that's normal, because now the first time you were ever with someone, you were connected with their kids, right? So that was the only thing you've ever known. So now you might be comparing the situation, but you can't compare the two. I don't know. I've never been in that situation. I've only been with one partner who has kids and I adore his kids. But there's obviously going to be ups and downs. There's going to be times where you feel connected. There's times where I feel super connected to your kids, and then we'll go a couple weeks because we're at a pay-per-view, or maybe I'm visiting my sister or whatever it may be. And I feel like, oh, I feel so disconnected from them. So it's going to be ups and downs for sure. But all you can do, if you really love this person, you're going to make it work, and you just have to put in the effort. Maybe you take a couple extra hours in a day to, do something specific with them. It's just you and the kids or something. But I mean, don't let the kids be the reason why it's not working out.
And coming from somebody who is the one with the kids, if you're not feeling it, if you've put forth as much effort as you possibly can and you're still not feeling it, maybe it's time to look elsewhere. And I don't mean that in a cold way. I just know that if Leah or anybody else weren't to fully accept my kids, and yes, it's always a work in progress. There's never going to be a substitute for the previous relationship or environment, because that's just how kids' brains work. So, but if they're not putting in the work to do, or if you've put in all the work and they're still not feeling it, it's time to split. But also put in the work first.
Yeah, you can't just be like, oh, I don't like how they talk to me about XYZ. Just let that go and move on. But if it's like a big issue, then you have to be happy too. You can't just make sure the kids are happy and make sure your partner's happy. If you're not happy, that's not okay.
It's a total package deal, because if you and the kids are getting along great, but you and your partner aren't, that's a recipe for disaster for everybody. So this is another example of where honesty and communication are the keys. You have to have this conversation and just be open with each other about the whole thing. And since this is like this new version, at least for this week, of oh my God, I almost said the Jesus Christ. Right. Can you tell I've been talking for 2 straight days?
Yeah.
Since this is the Back to the Future version of Bear With Us, I am going to take a question from the mailbag.
Back to the future.
You're
back to life, back to reality.
Really? Those are the songs? You're talking about Back to the Future, and you didn't bust out a single note of Huey Lewis in the News?
What song is that? Just tell me, because I don't know if I know it. Tell me the tune. I don't know the name. Tell it to me. Sing it to me.
Baby, I love you.
Give me a couple of lyrics.
I love you so much.
Give me the lyrics. I don't know. I'm gonna sing it. See if I know it.
If you don't know it, you don't know it.
But I don't know what it is.
It's fine. There's mail to be answered.
Okay, I'm Googling it.
Hello, Matt and Leah. Love the podcast. No, this is the same one that you just read. So I'm going to go back to the one that I was supposed to read, because you totally derailed me by.
Well,
I'm hungover on disappointment right now. That's where I'm at.
Back to the Future.
Put it this way. Emilio, our producer, just sent me a text of the name as though there wasn't even a doubt in my mind. I could tell by the look on his face in the computer that he was hurting as bad as I am.
Power of Love by Celine Dion.
Wow. Mill, Mill, I'm calling you into the bullpen.
Listen, I'm a Celine Dion fan.
I even told you it was Huey Lewis in the News.
And I looked that up. That was my last Google. Jesus.
Well,
I am not loving this right now. Well, I'm feeling so hated on.
Well, listen, this is your option to
read the question.
This is your option to pull the nose up, to steer hard left, because there's an iceberg ahead, baby. This is your chance to be the hero.
So we're singing Titanic now?
Hi, Matt and Leah. I've loved you guys on my TV for a while now, but have...
I see you, I feel you, that
What was that? Was that last line? A little... I'm sorry. Was there a niner in there? Were you calling from a walkie-talkie? I've been in a relationship with a wonderful guy for nearly 2 years now, and he's absolutely perfect for me. He's everything to me, and I look forward to our future because I can't see one without him. Before him, I was in an emotionally abusive relationship and stayed for 2 years too long because the sex was great. Thankfully, I was able to get out and find the love of my life. He's been so emotionally healing, but sex hasn't been to the level I'm used to. To clarify, he's got a few issues, isn't in the mood a lot of the time. I also think his libido is a little bit lower than mine. I've told him that I'm good to go literally anytime and that he should make the move whenever he wants because I'm always ready, but that it hasn't increased our sex lives. I don't know what to do because I have a higher sex drive and I find myself using toys more than him. I'm just not sure what to do from here. I don't want to make him have more sex than he's comfortable with, but he's leaving me wanting more. and I'm starting to fantasize about having a side guy solely for my sexual cravings. It's not that I want to or have any intentions of ever following through. I want my boyfriend and only my boyfriend. What's a poor girl to do?
Oh my God. This is like every girl's worst nightmare.
This is an amazingly written question. Thank you. I just want to appreciate the penmanship and the logic behind that. Thank you.
That sucks. Like, sex is very, very important. And if it's not, especially, I don't know, as a woman, I feel like sometimes we're made to feel like, oh, I shouldn't want sex more than my boyfriend or my partner because, you know, that's like stereotypically the male is supposed to want that more.
But as we started the podcast 4 hours ago with, times have changed.
This is true. This is true. I don't know. I mean, you're saying that he has some issues, right? But maybe it's one of those things where you just have to entice him some more. I don't know if you put on something sexy. I don't know if it's maybe you have to sit down and actually have a conversation and just be like, listen, I know that you're feeling this way, but I'm needing this. Like, I actually really need this. And if you're not having good sex and you're not connected, then your relationship is going to suffer. It doesn't matter how emotionally supportive he is for you, because like you're saying, you're already fantasizing about looking elsewhere. So that's not good, because then if you start acting on that, you're going to screw it all up, but you're also not satisfied. So you need to just be straight up with him and talk to him. And maybe he'll have a suggestion. Maybe he'll be like, sure, go find a sad guy. I'm okay with that. Or maybe he'll say, well, then I need to step my game up. You don't know until you have the conversation.
Yes, but to piggyback off of what Leah said, I agree with all that. But do not act on the thought until at least you've had the conversation. Yes. The conversation is of the utmost importance, and it's never fun. It's always kind of awkward. It's okay to approach it from like a jokey manner, like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we did this, and see how he reacts? Yeah. And also, it's on him as a partner to go, oh, she's trying to have a legitimate conversation with me. And maybe he's going to go, you know what? I thought we had a great sex life. I'm sorry. What can I do? How can I help? How can I improve? He may go, look, I love what we got. I've got issues and I can't do it for whatever reason or another, but I still love you. In which case, guess what? That's why all these toys exist. That's why the internet and porn and all that is there. As long as he's supporting you emotionally as more so than he is physically, don't do anything drastic, but it's up to you to have the conversation to where it's like, okay, hey, where are we? I would love it if you did this. And he may go, oh, wait, you're into that? Like, honest to God, the honesty might be a huge turn on for your partner, for anybody, not just you, the person who wrote the question, anybody. Be honest and say, hey, you know what? I thought about this thing once. Is there anything to that? And even if it's nothing, if it's just an idea, maybe it's a fantasy. Sometimes that's so hot, it'll just propel you in the right direction. And then you have a few days to buy at least before you have to have the conversation.
Yeah. And you don't want to be spending the rest of your life using toys. That is just not good for anybody. So you have to have the conversation, because if you don't, and you just keep pretending like everything's okay, then it's just going to go downhill quick.
You completely did a 180 on your face since the beginning of this question. And I'm very curious as to...
Because I just noticed another pimple show up on my face.
Okay. So it had nothing to do with my sexual performance.
Well, no.
I was a little worried for a second because
I started this thing with like 2 pimples and now I just broke out.
Yeah, but you answered so coldly and matter-of-factly and like Patrick Bateman-esque.
Because I really realized I took it off the deep end with my singing and my Celine Dion and the whole Huey Lewis thing. So I was like, I need to be serious. Sometimes I can be serious.
Hey, baby, how fast do we have to go for me to end this episode?
What? Oh, Back to the Future.
Come on.
It.
Come on. How fast?
I don't know. Marty McFly, is he in Back to the Future?
He is.
The Mandalorian? I mean, not the Mandalorian. What is the car called? The car is
That's
called...
a DeLorean.
That is embarrassing.
It's 88 point... You know what?
Babe, I haven't seen that movie in so long.
Goodbye forever.
Bear with us.